do lots of, you don't know this until you become a minister, the range of things to deal with. I dealt with everything from marriage to animal experimentation with Europe and passports and identity cards in between. And I said to her, I think my job, Jackie, is to shovel the shit so it doesn't land on your desk. But ultimately, if the chips are down, I'm with you. Which actually probably puts me right outside the political pale these days, because I don't think that's the common approach. But anyway, as Jackie says, my name's Meg Hillier, and I'm really delighted to be here tonight. One of the things about being an active politician is always doing things, and it is so nice to have the chance to think and reflect and come and speak to a group of people who want to do that. And especially in Parliament at the moment, we're thinking, reflecting on a few things, but not at some of the bigger issues of the day. And as Jackie says, I've been an MP for Hackney South and Shoreditch. I've been doing that since 2005, but I've actually held elected office since 1994. Just trying to remember, and I've done a few things along the way. So I've kind of held office at different levels: local government, London government, and central government. And I now have this absolute privilege of chairing the Public Accounts Committee, and I'll explain a bit about that. But one of the reasons I said yes actually is frankly because of Jackie. When you have had someone as being your chief whip, you still quake when you get a call. And you don't quite know what will happen if you say no. So the answer is a default yes. So I actually think Jackie's been a pretty damn good chair of the Lunar Society. If you think it's all down to her charms, then you've got another thing coming. But Jackie, if there was ever a female Home Secretary who deserved to be Prime Minister, it was you, and not the one we've currently got. But let me start by thanking the Lunar Society for inviting me to speak at the Sir Cadbury Memorial Lecture in honour of a great leader and a great man who did so much for this city and this university, and it really is a matter of great prestige to be invited here. And I know that the Lunar Society does great work in bringing people together for serious debate and discussion, which is sorely needed, as I've said, at the moment. And you draw on the great tradition of the Lunar Society of the 1780s and 1790s, when you consider the talent and genius the Lunar Society could muster in this great city during that first industrial revolution. It's truly humbling that I'm here today. Scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs, they created new technologies, new institutions, new methods of production, and literally changed the world. If you consider Boulton and Watt's steam engines, powering the industries, reducing journey times across oceans, allowing humans to travel faster than the speed of a horse for the first time in 10,000 years. Or Benjamin Franklin, the American polymath and inventor who experimented with electricity. Or Josiah Wedgwood, who didn't just invent modern pottery, but also modern marketing, and whose anti-slavery campaign, of course, helped to end the ownership of and trade in human beings. And the thing that all these men had in common, and the women whose histories are still to be written, is that they were creatures of the Enlightenment. Science, reason, democracy, and an end to religious bigotry, superstition, and ignorance. Those Enlightenment values seem in very short supply today. I'm sure I'm not the first speaker to the modern day Lunar Society to point out the parallels between the first industrial revolution forged here in Birmingham and the so-called fourth industrial revolution, which is transforming our world. I suspect it may be even compulsory. Then it was the steam engine, factories and canals. Today, it's robotics, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, drones, and the rest. And I'm delighted, as an MP for Shoreditch, to really see at the heart of some of those new changes. These have a major impact on our economy and society, and the pressure on our institutions will be no less dramatic, I predict, then as now, being shaped by our technology. But I work in one of the least technological buildings in the country, where until recently, our listed telephone exchange was still in operation. And interestingly, it's actually rather missed. As they brought in the new one, that was Parliament. But I actually work in an institution that is falling to bits. It's not a metaphor. When I say the Palace of Westminster is full of holes, leaks, faulty wiring, and vermin, they are literally true.
Yep.
And I could talk to you about that if you want afterwards. But also, Parliament is an institution that is under pressure from the weight of the events and the pace of change. And I don't want to mention the B word more than I have to tonight. I mean Brexit, not Boris. But even without the UK's departure from the European Union, the pressures on Parliament would be immense. We live in a world of instant gratification, instant music, instant shopping, instant information, a smartphone in our pockets with more computing power than in the Apollo missions. Parliament, by contrast, remains plodding, deliberative, seemingly always behind the curve. though actually we see quite an interesting contrast between people elected in 2017 and even people as young as me. But we have an analogue politics in a digital age, Betamax in the age of Netflix. The world is embracing 5G, and as I've said, we're still just about tying two cans together with a piece of string. And yet the role of Parliament has never been more important in steering the nation into this unknown future, in holding ministers to account, and providing, crucially, a voice for everyone in the country. The issue, therefore, of holding government to account and how it should be done is vitally important, and that's what I want to talk about now. Scholars tell us that the first forms of written language, for example that of the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, were based on accounting methods for sheep, corn and so on. Bookkeeping led to book writing, and so the idea of accounting for resources is almost as old as humanity. The Doomsday Book is an example of government taking stock of resources for the purposes of taxation. But the concept of accountability, scrutinising and holding people to account for their decisions over resources and expenditure, is newer and hotly contested. It's become a hurrah word, liberally scattered through speeches and documents, often without concrete definition or example.